This story begins with the main character named Roselia Roward. Duke Lockhart asks her to dance with him. He is the son of Duke Cadal. No one around understood why he needed such a servant. Roselia refused him and politely asked him to leave. Lockhart apologizes for any discomfort caused. He asks her to talk alone, and Roselia thought he had trouble hearing. Lockhart continues to insist on his own and asks to give him a chance. Roselia is no fool, and she knows all the secrets of this demon. But Lockhart believes there is no reason why they can't be friends. He is even ready to kneel to make Rosalia warmer to him. Rosalia doesn't like that everyone is staring at them. Lockhart won't leave her alone until she agrees to dinner, but she doesn't want people to think she's in love. He threatened her that he might expose her deception. Lockhart asks you to say his name out loud, and that will be enough. Rosalia asks him to stop being a pervert. Lockhart believes that it is not without reason that the lion cub is named after Tagar. He promises her to destroy her no matter what, and Rosalia would like to see it. When she was little, she and her mother lived in a small hut on Mount Tunbar. The way back to the village was far from a walk in the park. The word father always came up at the worst moments. Mom was the only joy in the girl's life. A little later, Roselia noticed her mother crying quietly. She doesn't know why exactly her mother was crying. What mattered was that she cried because of Roselia. One day, her mother went somewhere, promising to return soon. It could have taken several days, given the mountain paths. At that moment, Roselia decided that she would never hurt her again. So when she was offended again, she began to fight back. Roselia asked her offenders to leave her sight before she destroyed them. When they ran away, she realized she had won. Roselia wanted to tell her mother about this when she returned, but 3 days have already passed, and Mom is still nowhere to be seen. Roselia tried not to think about the bad. The elder who came to her asks Roselia to go with her to the village. Then he told her that her mother would not return. The girl was told that her mother appeared to have slipped and fallen. Roselia didn't want to go anywhere. She wanted to stay at home. Mom told her that she would come home no matter what. Roselia trusted her and believed that she would keep her word, but she doesn't trust anyone anymore. When Roselia woke up, she saw some man. When he introduced himself to her, the girl said her name was Roselia Roba, but the man knows that she is Roselia Roward. This is Count Helladin Roward, and he is the girl's father. His face darkened when Roselia said that wasn't true. Roselia knows that she didn't have a dad, and her mom didn't have a husband. They wouldn't live like this if she had a husband. Helladin said he would take care of her from now on. But, one way or another, Roselia's mother can no longer be brought back. Helladin hugged the girl and tried to calm her down. He said she was named after her favorite flowers. Roselia decided to ask why he left her mother. She remembered the butcher's son, Colin, who was also a bastard. Suddenly, Dad shows her what Mom loved so much. One day, she secretly left him and he could not find her. But now he managed to do it with this silk bandage. This bandage was a gift from Melia. She wanted him to take Roselia. So we are transported to the next day, to Count Roward's villa. Roselia was shown a room where she could do whatever she wanted. She was also informed that her tutor would arrive tomorrow. The next day, a certain Julia meets her. Roselia already realized that this was her new tutor. She asked what a tutor was, and Julia thought it was a great question. She started asking what kind of tutor Roselia would like for herself. Roselia considered her a bore, since she asked first. She is surprised that the teacher doesn't know the word bore. Surprisingly, the woman left the room after this. Roselia worried in vain, but she won. She didn't even mean anything by those words. But suddenly, Julia brought her the imperial dictionaries. She wants them to look for the meaning of the word bore in them. First, Julia asked if Roselia could read. Having found the word, Julia began to read the definition. After learning its meaning, Julia thought that Roselia wanted her to go to prison. Those who write dictionaries usually take their work quite seriously. The lion coat of arms is the symbol of the imperial Tagar family. The first lion is the duke who commands the knights. At 10 years old, Roselia was naive. She learned everything that Julia taught her, not knowing that it was her program. The few months she spent at the villa were the most peaceful of her life. But then she suddenly met Countess Roward. So 10 years have passed, and we are back at the Roward estate. Roselia has grown up. She is already 17 years old. A lot has happened since the Countess brought her to the estate. People recognized Roselia as the Count's daughter because of her resemblance to him. The Countess could not help but neglect Roselia and put her out. Later, she introduced her to a new teacher, supposedly for her own good. But it didn't take her long to realize that they were only making her life difficult. The teacher didn't like that Roselia didn't understand easy things. And then he asked what in the world her mother was doing. Roselia said it was his fault if she didn't understand his lessons. The teacher turned purple with rage and ran out of the room. For every mistake, he hit the girl on the hands with a stick. But he didn't realize that he was teaching her a terrifying ability to torture people. The last time Roselia saw her teacher was during a walk with her dad. One day, the Rovard's daughter Misa became indignant that Roselia had taken her book. But the heroine believes that whoever takes it first gets to read it. She doesn't understand why Misa is angry, because she doesn't read herself. When she called her a damn brat, Rosilia said it was rude. Misa couldn't accept the fact that Rosilia lived here. But Rosilia planned to enter the academy, and that was how she would get out of the estate. After graduation, she will be able to build a successful career. In this case, Rosilia will be able to protect the Count's reputation and her own. The maid Julia visited her, noticing that Rosilia was sitting up late again. The exam at the academy is coming soon, and she is preparing for it. She can't believe that her life has changed so much. Rosilia asked to return the book that Misa had taken to her later. She still won't remember taking it a few hours ago. Rosilia can't waste time hating anyone. The entrance exam to the academy is in a week. Julia said she had good results. The Count would like to reward Julia for her hard work. And Julia asked how long Rosilia planned to call him Count, as if it was time to call it something else. But Rosilia doesn't want to be distracted by something like that. She suddenly noticed that her notebook had disappeared somewhere. It seems that Misa Roward took her. She's already wondering what she'll be scolded for this time. The Countess noted how much Rosilia was studying. She mentioned that Misa cried for hours today. Then the Countess asked if she knew that she had stolen her notebook. Misa said she uses it to cheat on tests. The teachers were impressed by Rosilia's notes. Suddenly, the Countess asks her not to take part in the entrance exam to the academy. She can tell his lordship and he will understand. Children from noble families will be offended if she gets a perfect score. The Countess said that such is the order of things. Rosilia says she will discuss this with his lordship, but the Countess would like to do everything as quietly as possible. Although, if she wants to pass the exam so badly, the Countess doesn't mind. However, she assures that Rosilia will not last long at the academy. She said that no one would want to study with the daughter of a prostitute. Rosilia said her mother didn't do anything like that. But the gossip says otherwise, and Rosilia can't do anything about it. Rosilia recalled the reputation of the Roward house. But the Countess can lie so brazenly anyway. To protect her daughter, she is ready to sacrifice her husband's reputation. Rosilia will be branded with bad words for the rest of her life. And the Countess intends to hinder everyone who would like to help Rosilia. Rosilia came to the pharmacy owner Tolman. She had wanted to work here before, but for now, she decided to just drop in. She was about to leave, but Tolman suggested that she stay a little longer. He offers to work for him, and that he will not offend with money. Even the smell of her favorite herbs doesn't improve her mood. In the end, her hard work doesn't even matter. It is unknown how long the Countess had been planning all this. Suddenly, Rosilia was distracted when someone noticed her. The girl the gentleman was holding begged him to let her go. Rosilia is sure that he is a nobleman and behaves like one. First, Rosilia asks him to let the girl go. Her courage is commendable, but the guy doesn't listen to her. Rosilia asked if his parents knew what he did with girls on the streets. The girl managed to escape, and Rosilia did not let him follow her. Suddenly, turning the corner, the girl bumped into someone else. The man grabbed her, and she couldn't get away. It turned out that the girl had stolen their expensive wallet. The thief stole a wallet from a nobleman, and later took advantage of Rosilia's sympathy. Rosilia accidentally mistook the victim for a pervert. The guy asked her if she now saw her mistake. Rosilia decided not to answer and simply ran away. Suddenly, a second prince appeared and asked to release the thief. Grainan seems to be enjoying his public appearance. They walked so fast that the prince could hardly keep up with them, and Cadell continued to watch Rosilia run away. Since she was wearing a hood, she was sure that no one recognized her. Her only chance to escape is to enter the academy. A knock on the door distracted her from her thoughts. Her father noticed that she hadn't been looking so well lately. He asks her to do as well as she can for tomorrow's exam. Before entering the academy, she needs to attend a ball. But Rosilia is not very confident in her abilities. Her father asks her to go to bed and says that he will take her tomorrow. Rosilia must not tell the Count that she will not take the exam. She is still young. It is difficult for her to deal with all the problems on her own. Misa assures that she will get the highest score. Rosilia realized from the flag that someone from the Keidel family was also taking the exam. Rosilia noticed a familiar silhouette in front of Duke Cadell. Misa urges Rosilia to go inside. She doesn't seem to know what the Countess ordered Rosilia to do. Of course, it is natural for the Countess to protect her daughter. Rosilia decides to sneak out later, while the Count is not looking. She remembers the reputation of the Countess, the reputation of the Count and her mother. The last day of the exam has arrived. Rosilia decided to work in a pharmacy after all. She actively collaborates with clients. The idea of opening your own store doesn't seem so bad. She said that she would come as often as she could. There are a lot of carriages today, and it seems that the exam is already over. Rosilia leaves, promising to come as soon as possible. Misa is happy to pass the exam, and the Countess praises her. Rosilia didn't even know that the Countess was capable of such feelings. She decided that she should leave, so as not to ruin this family moment. Her father consoles her, that next year she will be able to concentrate better on her studies. He would like to give Rosilia new teachers, but she is happy with Julia. Father says that everything in life happens at the right moment. Just because it didn't happen today doesn't mean it was a failure. Rosilia needs to find out if she is an heir in order to find out how much she can save for the business. She finally asked him to pretend he hadn't heard anything. When the father left the room, Misa came. She says their home is that of an intellectual family, and her father's intelligence helped her. It doesn't sound plausible coming from Misa, but Rosilia had heard this story before. There was a time when the previous Count Roward was living in exile due to an insult to the emperor. Then he met Rosilia's mother. To avoid political isolation, he had no choice but to marry the countess. Misa saw Rosilia's results, and she didn't expect her to fail the exam. Misa has no doubt that Rosilia would have passed without any problems. She guesses that Rosilia handed in the sheet blank. Misa also thinks that it's all because of her mother. She remembers that Rosilia wanted to get out of here and go to the academy. Misa didn't ask her mother to do this. She wouldn't have done that. But she feels guilty, so she will give a gift. Shortly before Rosilia came here, her mother sent letters here. But the countess burned them behind her father's back and used her connections to lie that they had not found her. Misa says this because her father really wanted to find Rosilia. Once she steps into the academy, they will never see each other again, and Misa would be lying if she said she wasn't sorry. Rosilia's mother probably decided that she could no longer raise her in such an environment. She was afraid that if she died, there would be no one to look after Rosilia. As a sign that they would never see each other again, she sent a bouquet to Rosilia. Since the bouquet had no sender, it reached the father safely. Rosilia can't imagine how broken her mother felt. For the first time in 7 years, Rosilia cried out loud, not thinking that anyone would hear her. Meanwhile, Lockhart was informed that his top score had gone to someone else. It was a student named Raborisika. It seems that this is a commoner, because there is no such surname among the nobles. But Lockhart will still be declared the best, because that student was not on the list of applicants. Lockhart thought he would get a perfect score because the exam was easy, but someone beat him without even passing the entire exam. The academy took care of the situation, and he didn't have to worry too much. Lockhart earned the nickname Lion Cub of Tagara for saving the prince in the war. But the academy demands his enrollment. It would be an honor for them. There are things that Lockhart can only achieve at the academy, but Lockhart had already become his father's successor as the first lion of Tagar. The heir of the family must be chosen personally by the emperor. If Lockhart can place the second prince on the throne, he will become the first lion of Tagar. Since Rosilia now only eats and sleeps, life has become very easy. Her father came to her, hoping that he had not disturbed her. He tells her that they are going on a trip. They are heading to a beautiful beach near the border of the southern region. The ocean there is incredibly clean and green. The father assures that there will definitely be a place for them there. Rosilia remembers what Misa told her, and she can't keep it inside anymore. So she tells her father that it seemed like her mother wanted to come back to him. She doesn't have the courage to tell that the countess burned the letters. Now Rosilia thinks that her father was also wounded. The fact that she didn't get into the academy won't be a cause of disappointment for her father. But Rosilia feels that he is disappointed because she calls him not father, but his lordship. It would be enough for him if she called him father, at least a rat or two a year. Rosilia decided to make this her birthday present and called him father. It was for that year because his birthday had already passed. It turned out to be really beautiful near this beach. Life doesn't end with Rosilia's failure to enroll. When she arrived at the beach, she noticed that it was already occupied. It looks like this man is trying to grab the sword. He turned around and asked what she wanted, but Rosilia asked him in response what he needed. She dresses like a count's daughter, so she doesn't care about manners. He decided to ask who she was and whether she was staying at the hotel. But you can't ask such a question to a stranger. Rosilia assumed he had just returned from the bar. She thinks he received a good salary for participating in the war. Rosilia would like to hear what he is doing here. She asks him to enjoy Jabron while he can. He asked warily what she was hinting at. Rosilia just doesn't know how long this place will remain a resort. This war started because the kingdom of Agil tried to take all the iron ore for itself. Jabron is part of the empire and is located very close to trade routes. It is likely that Eagle will send warships along dangerous routes. No one wants to see warships in their hotel window. This guy's master has arrived, so Rosilia is leaving. He asks him to return to the hotel because the stitches might come apart. He warned that there was no one to be afraid of in the hotel. Count Roward arrived here with his daughter. Lockhart jokes that she is too young for His Majesty. The Empress is not very happy that he decided to recover here. Looks like they'll have to work like dogs. Prince Grayan, who fought in his brother's place, led the empire to victory. While Prince Aurel was trying to take credit for all the achievements, the war ended. Rosilia thought this meeting was a bit strange. Her father asks to greet Duke Cadell. They get acquainted and greet each other, There's no way Keitel didn't know about the Count's second child. Lockhart joins them, telling the Count that he hasn't changed at all. The Count told him that he had grown into a wonderful man. Rosilia realized that she had seen this face before. During dinner, Lockhart asked Rosilia if she enjoyed walking. She admitted that she was afraid to leave her home. But that night, she didn't seem to be scared. Lockhart was called away unexpectedly and had to leave. It was too awkward to sit opposite him. But to find yourself between two lions is even worse. The father guesses that she must be tired after the journey. When Rosilia came out, she breathed a sigh of relief. But she didn't expect Lockhart to be here. She asks him to say something here if he wants. She suddenly heard someone's familiar voice. She recognized the guy from the beach, His Highness Prince Grayan. Rosilia apologizes for not recognizing him earlier. Lockhart jokes that she has a habit of not recognizing people. Rosilia did not recognize His Highness in ordinary clothes. Grayan had thought the Count would let her go as soon as Lockhart left. He relayed to Lockhart the words she had spoken to him. Grayan asks Rosilia why she is so scared. She just can't believe that all this is happening in reality. Rosilia always thought that the imperial family was different from ordinary people. Grayan jokes that he probably looks too bad in bad clothes. Lockhart said she had the courage to confront a pervert on the street. Now Grayan asked what was the most effective way to keep quiet. Rosilia is afraid that her answer might cause trouble. Prince Grayan has enough wealth and power to get what he wants. As Rosilia said, Jebron Beach is beautiful. Anyone who sees this beach will stay or never want to leave. Rosilia doesn't understand why the prince has such a reaction. He says he likes this beach too. They started talking about the academy, but Rosilia doesn't want to hear a word about it. It seems the prince mistook her for Lady Misa. Rosilia clarified that she was the Count's illegitimate daughter. When she left, Lockhart said she was hilarious. But, noticing the expression on Grain's face, he realized that he was thinking about something. It's easier for them to lure Prince Aurel here. Aurel never publicly praised Grain. Lockhart believes that it would be worthwhile to arrange for Rosilia to take the entrance exams next year. Grain needs someone who has his back, not someone who will be framed and buried alive. As soon as the article mentioned by Lockhart was published, Aurel immediately came to Gebron. When Duke Keitel arrived at the Imperial Palace, Prince Aurel had already left the capital, so 3 weeks have already passed. Today, Rosilia came to the pharmacy quite early. After that trip, she started coming more often. The scent of herbs that lingered on her clothes calmed her. Rosilia is already ready to work here. She still doesn't see any benefit from tutoring or new connections. One of the customers asked if they had mandarin and fellworth. These plants are used so rarely that pharmacists don't even know about them. They need to see if they can get these plants. There is not even any demand for these plants, but Rosilia knows that alchemists spend a lot of money on these plants. There is one person from whom you can order these plants, so Rosilia told the client that they would be able to get the herbs. But this will take at least 5 months. The client said he could wait and paid in advance, as it seemed to Rosilia. But the piece of paper said that it needed to be delivered to some laboratory. At the academy, Misa greets Lady Milena, but she ignores her. But she herself wanted to talk to her during the inauguration ceremony. After the entrance ceremony, Misa immediately attracted attention due to her status. But after the exam results came in, everything changed. Her score was slightly higher than Lockhart's. After this, interest in Misa waned. But Misa believed that if you study hard, everything can be fixed. But even her innate persistence did not help her to absorb the lecture material. She ran into Lockhart in the hallway. Misa knows that they haven't crossed paths before. Lockhart had already gotten to know most of his classmates. He wants to ask a question because he missed class. He asked to tell about the lecture on trade routes. Misa apologized for not being able to help. Trade routes with neighboring countries are studied only in the 3rd year. Lockhart's goal was not a curriculum, but a test of intelligence. Hearing his question, Misa looked completely confused. Lockhart doesn't understand how Misa and Rosilia can be so different. He came to the principal to see the results of the entrance exams. He is specifically interested in the exam of the person who took first place. In the reception room of the 3rd palace, Rosilia came to deliver an order for the laboratory. She can't name her real problems, otherwise she will have problems. So Rosilia introduced herself as Rosilia Roba. She works after all, and she shouldn't be ashamed. Director Royman was informed that the delivery had arrived. He didn't expect to see Rosilia so soon. It turned out to be not only fast, but also of high quality. Rosilia will be glad if he continues to order from them. She said that there is a sign that the first parcel must be paid for in cash. Rosilia is confident that she sounded like an experienced pharmacist. 30 minutes later, she realized she was lost. Lockhart was there too, asking if she was pretending to be a commoner again. But she doesn't really need to pretend. Lockhart paid her a compliment and said she could just take it. But it's more important for him to know why she's here today. Rosilia replied that she was delivering a parcel. She had to tell that she works in a pharmacy. Lockhart guesses that she is a real jack of all trades. but he knows that working in a pharmacy requires extensive knowledge of medicine. Rasilia said she was a damn herbalist. Lockhart didn't expect her to express herself that way. Rasilia wants to wring his neck. Lockhart is very curious about who she really is. He would also like her to apologize to him. Last time, they didn't manage to have a normal conversation. He feels like Rasilia thinks she has done nothing wrong. Finally, she bowed and asked for forgiveness. She started babbling, and Lockhart had to accept her apology. Now he asked where the pharmacy was. Although his people will still be able to find her themselves, half of the knights in the exam should have started looking for a pharmacy. Rasilia hopes he will keep it a secret. She finally said it was Tolman's pharmacy at the end of Below Street. Rasilia hopes that she will not cross paths with him again, but she still asked him to tell her where the reception room of the third palace was. Lockhart told her that she would be in his debt. Misa soon returned to the Rovard estate. Her mother noticed how pale she had become from studying. Misa asks her father to find her a tutor. The Countess cannot even imagine how hard it was for her. It seems Misa is adapting better than Rasilia expected. All that remains is to find the right man, and all goals will be achieved. But Rasilia will have to work hard for 30 years to open her own shop. But nevertheless, she tries to think positively. As luck would have it, Misa came into her room. She thinks that Rasilia is idle because she didn't get into the academy, but she bought a dress for Rasilia before leaving. She hopes she will wear it when she comes of age. But Misa always gives her something and then takes it away. Normally, in a situation like this, Misa would have already thrown a tantrum. Rasilia wanted to move away, but Misa didn't let her. Rasilia knew she needed something the moment she walked in here. Misa asks her to promise that she will help, because she has no one else to turn to. But Rasilia doesn't want to get involved in any devilry. Misa stated that she wanted to confess her feelings to Lord Lockhart. If Rasilia were a reporter, she would write about this. Misa heard that her father praised Rasilia's poems, but he praised poetry, not love letters. It would be humiliating if even one soul found out about this. This is not within the competence of Rasilia. Misa knows that Rasilia goes to town every day. She threatens her that if she doesn't help write the letter, she won't leave the house at all. The Countess prevented Rasilia from entering the academy, and now Misa is preventing her from working in the pharmacy. But Rasilia decided to agree. A plan had formed in her head. Rasilia asks to rewrite her letter exactly as she wrote it. Tomorrow, Misa returns to the academy. She asks not to look for her. We move on to the next day, to the Imperial Academy. Lady Collins sat down next to Lockhart, seeing what book he was reading. But Lockhart always wondered what kind of monsters people talked about. Colleen is amazed because he talks about it differently. Her uncle recently returned from the war and said it was a dark story. She asked where to put the pain he had experienced. When Lockhart thinks about the dead, he can allow himself to wallow in pain. Colin will take his absences from classes due to his service to the prince as an advantage. As His Highness's servant, it is important for Lockhart to have good grades. Then, Colin asked if she would have a chance if she studied hard. When she left, Lockhart noticed the letter. He reads how Misa confesses her love to him. Misa understands that they may not have time because of their studies, but she does not lose hope. The text is veiled in mockery, and Lockhart thinks it belongs to Rasilia. Lockhart then decided that the challenge was accepted. We then moved to Prince Grahan's palace. Lockhart came to visit him and saw that he was getting cupping. Lockhart guesses that these are the herbs that Rasilia delivered. He himself suggested this method, so Grahan asks not to look at him like that. Royman assures that he has thoroughly checked all the herbs. Lockhart believes that the third lion's daughter has no interest in harming the second prince. There are a couple of outstanding guys at the academy. Grahan had heard that Viscount Encart's daughter was quite remarkable. It's Colin, and Lockhart said he's already spoken to her. He is not very attracted to assertive women. Grahan thinks Lockhart's plan is to foist mediocre people on him. Lately, Grahan has become even more distrustful. He asked the prince if he had forgotten what position Encart had held during the war with Amat. Graina says he is lenient towards wealthy women. He cites his mother, who founded a school, as an example. Lokar reminds that his family is also quite wealthy. The prince asked what about Count Rowards' legitimate daughter. Lockhart recalled that her sister Rasilia was partly responsible for the prince's treatment. He said that she supplies herbs to Royman. The prince assumed that she was quite a headache for the count. When he called for Royman, Miliora Tagar, Princess of Tagara, came instead. She heard that some dangerous spells were being tested on him, but the prince said that this was only a treatment from Royman. Miliora spoke to Lockhart, and Grian asked him to show him respect. She invites Lockhart to join her for tea. Lockhart told her that she hadn't changed at all. The prince asks her to leave, because Lockhart is not her toy. Her Majesty snitched to His Majesty that she was not sure whether the prince would recover. In any case, no one in the palace cares about Miliora. Her Majesty simply surrounds Aurel with care. Lockhart will only be able to attend the tea party when the Academy goes on holiday. But Green assures that even if the Academy closes, Lockhart will not come to her. In any case, Meliora asks him to get well soon. Grian sincerely apologizes to Lockhart for what he saw. One way or another, he also asks him to get out. In the foyer of the third palace, Lockhart sees Resilia on the list of visitors. Meanwhile, Misa studies as if her life depended on it. But Resilia is confident that she will soon give in. Resilia's father was just looking for her. He asked if she had thought about how she wanted to celebrate her coming of age. Resilia would like to go to the village, where her mother's grave is. Resilia asked if he would like to join her. Father said that they would go there together on Friday morning. For some reason, it was very difficult to ask this. Resilia didn't have the heart to ask her father to visit her mother's grave with her, but she felt she had a right to something like this on her birthday. Then suddenly, Misa announced that she was throwing a party next Friday. She said with a smile that Lockhart would definitely come. If he agrees, the others will come too. The Count must greet the guests, even if it is Resilia's birthday. In any case, she resigned herself to going to the village alone. Suddenly, the Count said indignantly that on this day there should be a holiday at Resilia. He rudely asked if Misa had prepared a gift for her. Misa says most people want to see the third lion. Moreover, she stated that she had already given a gift to Resilia. But Resilia knows that she only did it because the Count said so. Misa is so selfish that it's hard to call her an adult. Resilia tells her father that she is okay. She tries not to be sad, because she will still be able to go alone. A week later, the things were packed and the carriage was ready. Misa finds her and asks her to write her opening speech for the party. Resilia just doesn't believe that she's actually saying this. Misa is throwing a party, and she knows that Resilia is good at writing. But this time, Resilia wasn't even angry. The only difference is in the circumstances of their birthdays. It was this difference that had defined Resilia's life all along. Having written the introduction, Resilia decides to leave. The coachmen have been instructed to handle the delivery, so Resilia cannot leave for now. Resilia decided to take a nap, but she didn't think she would sleep for long. Most likely the party has already started. To begin with, she decides to throw the bag on the ground. Noticing Lockhart sitting in a tree, she asked what he was doing there. Resilia almost fell, but Lockhart managed to catch her. If Lockhart weren't here, Resilia would be in trouble. He thinks that she decided to run away from home. Resilia said her birthday was always a bit of a bummer. Lockhart didn't expect that she would become an adult today. A minute later, he gives her a flower. A woman should receive flowers on her birthday. Resilia has no choice but to thank him. She said she was going somewhere. Lockhart asked if she had any reason to apologize to him. When he called her Resilia Roby, she tensed. Entering the imperial palace under an assumed name is a crime. Resilia explained this by saying that she could not disgrace the Count's family name. Lockhart is the first person to hold the Count responsible for Resilia's birth. Resilia is actually planning to leave on business. Lockhart guesses that it was she who wrote the confession letter. Resilia was indignant that he knew about this from somewhere. Resilia says she did it because she was upset with Misa. But Lockhart thinks she set it all up. She insulted him with that letter, and he won't let her get away with it. Resilia did not allow him to call her by her name. She asks to have pity on her hard lot of being an illegitimate child, and to leave her alone. She is sure that she deserves even more pity if she does not visit her mother today. She said she was killed when she was 10. In any case, Resilia thanks Lockhart for the flower. Lockhart asked how she was going to travel at such a time. He takes her suitcase and asks her to follow him. Lockhart takes a carriage from someone else's stable, and he himself sits down to control the horse. Resilia sat down next to him, intending to do it herself. When Resilia woke up, she saw that the flower given to her by Lockhart had blossomed. Then he said that this flower would show its beauty in the morning. After visiting her mother's grave, Resilia told her that she was already an adult. She says she even received a flower from the man. She also says that she works in a pharmacy, and the owner is very happy. Things aren't going so badly. Resilia wants to believe that she grew up to be a good girl. Her father was nearby, comforting Resilia. In the morning, she asked the Count when he had managed to arrive. Then she asks how the party went. The Count says that it depends on which side you look at it from. Resilia did not want to show disrespect to the Emperor. Lord Lockhart could hardly contain his laughter. Misa is pleased with how the party went. Although it was late, Resilia was able to visit her mother. Meanwhile, Grayan asks Royman what's wrong with him. It's as if he's going crazy because his body doesn't belong to him. The prescription from the clinic doesn't work. The vomiting doesn't go away. This didn't happen when Royman burned herbs into his back. This treatment cannot be used in the long term. Lockhart arrives, noticing that the prince is having a hard time. The prince told His Majesty that he would take part in the hunting competition. His Majesty announced this at dinner yesterday. The older brother tried to exclude Grayan from the list. Grayan can't stand being looked down upon. He said he was dying to hunt. Grayan will spend the night in the imperial forest. Lockhart is unsure whether he is going to hunt foxes or his own brother. Lockhart offers to break his leg so he can't participate. In Royman's office, Lockhart asked what they should do. Royman invited him to look at the prince's vomit. There it will be easier for Lockhart to form his own opinion. These are parasites, a species never seen before in the Empire. They choked while Royman burned the herbs, but reappeared when the effect wore off. Royman tried various types of imperial medicines, but to no avail. Lockhart says that imperial doctors are Her Majesty's men. If word gets around that Prince Grayan has become infected, he will be ridiculed. No one will fear a future emperor who failed to control insects. Roymond asks for access to the imperial library. Rosilia brought garrulane leaves and licorice roots to the pharmacy. The owner noted that she had been in a good mood lately. She's always been good with clients, but lately she's been absolutely glowing. That night, Lockhart was simply following the rules of propriety. But when he handed Rosilia the rose, some kind of balance appeared inside. The thought of becoming closer to the imperial family is not particularly pleasant for her. Rosilia has made many mistakes along the way and doesn't want to get close to them anymore. She heard someone calling her name, and it turned out to be Lockhart. Roymond and Rosilia met in the third palace. Lockhart says he asked her for help, so they met. But in reality, he only stopped her on the street and asked her to follow him. Lockhart whispers to her to forget about her fake name. But this is a trap. He wants to force her to say that Rosilia wrote that letter, so she said she had no idea what he was talking about. Soon they came to the Imperial Family Library. Lockhart asks the director what books they should look for. He said that he would take care of the books about diseases and let them look for everything connected with the people of Amat. They need to find a cure for parasitic diseases. Lockhart didn't give a name, but it's obvious they want to help. Rosilia, a stranger, was given access to the Imperial Library. Roymond is surprised at how confidently Rosilia moves here. Lockhart knows that when faced with a problem, Rosilia will give everything she has to solve it. There is a lot of information here about the Amata people, but almost nothing about the parasites. Roymond found a report of a cholera outbreak among soldiers 50 years ago. They are probably dealing with her. Some animals eat soil to get rid of parasites, but they have time to get the soil. First, they will receive an emergency pair. But Rosilia says that Amata soil can be obtained in another way. At the market, they were selling handmade jugs. If you put grains in them, the beetles die. The jugs are made of clay, and clay is part of the soil. Lockhart just brought a lot of household items. He invites Rosilia to go with him. She agreed if he thought she could help. Lockhart lets Rosilia choose the jug herself. The more valuable the jug, the better. Rosilia asked who else Lockhart was willing to ride all night for. She also asked if he would take the jug to Roymond. Rosilia can't believe Lockhart kidnapped her to look at the parasites. Roymond said that there was no need to go anywhere, because the parasites were dead. Rosilia suggested adding Star Anise. Lockhart walked out with her through the back exit of the third palace. Now he can take credit for saving a man. If something goes wrong, he will try to keep Rosilia's head on her shoulders. He seems to be afraid of everything when he doesn't get enough sleep. Rosilia had repaid the debt for the carriage. He didn't have to worry about the rest. The next day, Lockhart told the prince that he had taken anti-vomiting medicine. He doesn't feel sick anymore, and he feels better. Lockhart says the goddess of luck helped them. He promises to tell about it later, as it is time for him to go to the academy. He was tired of Rosilia always talking about her origins, but judging by His Highness's reaction, it is not difficult to understand. She probably faced prejudice all her life. The director informs the Countess that Misa's results have improved, but if she doesn't get at least an average score on the exam, she will be expelled. Misa must write the exam 3 times better. When the Countess suggests that the director take the gold bars, he says that he needs to go away, and he hopes that by the time he returns, the Countess will no longer be there. The director also strongly asks her not to forget anything. At the party, Misa said that they were living in a great era. The guests thought that she herself did not understand what she said. They started discussing her grades, saying that they were at rock bottom. When the Countess was leaving, she was met by Misa. The Countess pushed her daughter into the carriage and slapped her. She said that she suffered humiliation because of her. The Countess does not want her eyes to see Misa again. Misa remembers her mother telling her that all the best things were rightfully hers. Misa is ashamed that she is the daughter of the third lion, and she is almost expelled. Misa knows that Rosilia could hold out here. Suddenly, she remembered the notebook where all the notes were. Lady Colin must have the best notes. If Misa borrows the notebook for a short time, she won't notice. She decided that she would quickly rewrite everything and return the notebook. Suddenly, Colin came back and noticed Misa. She immediately began to say that it was not what she thought. Clin was delighted to learn of the third lion's daughter's enrollment. Misa said she just wanted to look at the notes and return everything. Colin wants to go to the principal's office to resolve this misunderstanding. But Misa begs her not to tell anyone and asks for forgiveness. Colin asked why Misa had thrown that party. She also asks what Misa will offer in return if she helps her. Misa replied that she would do whatever she wanted. Colin wants Misa to be her maid, and she will help her with her grades. The Empress accuses the maid of giving false testimony about the prince. but the maid assures her that she was not lying. She suggested that Lockhart had found a suitable cure. Leora suspects that the war has made the prince even more cunning. Everyone is discussing who will be the next emperor. Later, Meliora came here. She notices the maid and asks her to stop making noise. Meliora asks to take the maid away and call a doctor. Leora appeared behind her and asked what she was doing. She said that Meliora was spending too much time at his palace. It's as if she enjoys scurrying around among her brothers like a rat. Leora asks her to think about how she will beg Aurel's forgiveness. Aurel asked why his mother was in such a mood, but she's just worried about him. Their empire has reached a level where they can mine ore themselves. Once Grain showed off how healthy he was, everyone lined up to curry favor with him. They can no longer afford to let him remain the center of attention. But Aurel said that he could be given the opportunity to be the center. The soldiers will never forget how he fought shoulder to shoulder. Aurel wants Leora to ask His Majesty to arrange a competition. Aurel will take advantage of Grain's weaknesses. The Emperor will appreciate proposals that do not involve bloodshed. It's like a journey where everything leads to the goal. Even if you don't put in any special effort, the road will lead you where you need to go. Aurel is going to invite Count Rovard here. He also wants to invite his daughter to the palace. Leora doesn't think this is a good idea. If you press Grain now, he will try to take a neutral position. If Aurel wants to ascend the throne, he needs at least one lion on his side. He doesn't need the lion's daughter when he has Viscount Renee. With it, he will definitely win the competition. Soon, Count Rovard met with Aurel. Aurel barely has the strength to mount his horse. The Count says that a person can be strong in different ways. Now, Aurel said that he wanted to ask for a favor. He says that the Count wants to hold a competition between children. But, as the eldest son, Aurel worries that not everyone will be equal. Everyone should have a servant who will help him. Aurel will be assisted by Viscount Relay, and Grian by Lockhart. But Meliora has no one. Therefore, Aurel wants the Count to offer his daughter to become Meliora's maid of honor. The Count asks if he can consider the proposal. He also asked when the start of the competition would be announced. At the academy, students studied the topic of international waters. Misa wonders where these international waters are. The others are indignant that Colin invited her to join their group. Colin suggests taking a break. The others noticed that Misa was acting like Colin's maid. Colin goes with Misa to select materials for her teaching. In the corridor, they meet Lockhart. Colin suggests that Misa go to the library first. Lockhart suggested that Lady Misa looked up to Colin. Misa's results were 1 point higher than what would have gotten her expelled. She was about to burst into tears, but she was asked not to embarrass Colin. Colin doesn't understand how the daughter of the third lion can behave like this. Lockhart congratulated Misa on her improved performance, but, remembering his words, she decided to move away. Misa is happy that Lockhart spoke to her first, but after yesterday, she just can't look him in the eyes. Misa had been cowering before Colin for months, like a servant. It's not easy to triple your results at the academy. Misa must defend her honor as the daughter of the third lion. She came to Colin, who said she was throwing a tea party over the holidays. Not only is Misa already her servant, Colin wants to make her look like a buffoon. From now on, Misa asks her to address her as Lady Misa. They are classmates, and it's strange that only Colin addresses her by her first name. Misa says that she is no longer going to be her servant. She cannot allow her shortcomings to be a shame to the family. But Colin asked what would happen if the Earl found out his daughter was stealing things. The newspaper will be only too happy to read about this. Now, Colin pretended that Misa had spilled the ink on herself. Colin asks her to go to her room to change. Misa asked why she did this to her. She replied that it was because Misa was the only one here who was stealing. Lockhart visits Grian because he is on break from the academy. The prince said that he was tired of sitting in the palace. They went swimming to a place on the outskirts of the capital. It's funny that a man born a prince is happy to have the opportunity to swim in the lake. Lockhart warns him to be careful, but Grian asks him to shut up and get into the water. Misa broke her mug of tea because the maid made it too sour. Something strange has been happening to Misa since she came home for the holidays. The cheerful and frivolous girl became irritable. Others say that Misa was simply tired after school. If everyone was so stressed out about stress, then academic scientists would have been executed by now. Rasilia quickly leaves so that Misa doesn't get to her too. Before going to the pharmacy, Rasilia decided to sit by the lake. She didn't expect to see Grian and Lockhart there at all. The beach season is still far away, but they are swimming. Out of the corner of his eye, Lockhart saw Rasilia's figure leaving. He followed her into the bushes and noticed a blanket spread out. Lockhart took some nuts and returned. Grian asked what he was chewing there. Suddenly, he says that the servants' medal is ready. The medal tied the servants to the political position of their masters. The competition between children starts today. Lockhart will prove that he has the right to be called the Lion Cub of Tagar. But now he has a personal matter, so their paths diverge. Lockhart catches Rasilia at the drugstore again. He asks the girl to return the reward. She took something from the library without asking. If anyone notices that a book is missing from the Imperial Library, there will be trouble. Rasilia got scared and asked him to wait here. Lockhart didn't think it would be that easy. Of all the books, Rasilia chose the story about the happy life of the Empress. Rasilia is an illegitimate child who will suffer from this label all her life. Perhaps she was looking for something in the history of the previous Empress that she never had. But Lockhart realized that it was none of his business, and there was no point in guessing. The Count told the Countess that Misa would become Her Highness's maid of honor. The Countess does not understand why their family is being put in such a situation. Aurel just wants to see if the Count will fulfill his request. It's unlikely that anyone cares whose side Misa is on, so there's no need to worry. The Count says that Aurel asked his daughter to become a maid of honor. The Countess reminds him that he actually has 2 daughters. If he sends Misa, he will be laughed at. That's why the Countess suggests sending Rasilia, because she is persistent. She has no future and nothing to lose. But they may face criticism for sending an illegitimate daughter. But for Aurel, the fact that the Count fulfilled his request will be enough. The Countess asks the maid to bring Rasilia here. The Count does not look at Rasilia, and the Countess suppresses a smile. The Countess begins by saying that Rasilia is looking for a job. She says how hard it is for her that Rasilia did not get into the academy. They and the Count allegedly thought for a long time about how to provide her with a bright future. Therefore, an opportunity was found for her to become a maid of honor. But, usually, you need to at least graduate from the academy with excellent marks. The Countess was the only one who destroyed Rasilia's dream of entering the academy. The Countess simply gives Rasilia what she does not want for Misa. Rasilia asked her father if he agreed with the Countess, and when he said he agreed, Rasilia froze. Rasilia knew that there was no one in the world she could trust, and for some reason, it seemed to her that the Count was different from everyone else. But she doesn't trust him anymore. Now he's a stranger to her. Rasilia is an adult, and she is not obliged to do what she is told. She will then figure out where to live and where to go. Suddenly, her father comes into the room. He asks her to go to the Imperial Palace to serve Migliori. He claims that her stepmother is right, but Rasilia screams that she should never have called him father. Her Majesty rejected the princess, and as a result, she found herself in complete isolation. Rasilia must immerse herself in this and survive, and then decide for herself where to go. Her wings will become strong, and she will go wherever her eyes look. But the competition is a bloody battle for the throne. Father tells Rasilia that she shouldn't think about bad things. If Rasilia finds a job after this, the Countess will try to discredit her. Royalty without influence faces a tragic end. This attempt to survive is no different from how Rasilia lived before. In the end, she could always return to the pharmacy. Unexpectedly, Misa came into her room. She pushed Rasilia and slapped her. She doesn't like that Rasilia took away her position as a maid of honor. But Misa doesn't even know why she was offered this position first. If Misa moved to the Imperial Palace, she would say goodbye to the academy forever. Rasilia can't listen to her anymore and slaps her too. She explains that she was not given the position because she is not capable of anything. Misa pushes her and asks her to get out of her house. Rasilia said that her mother Misa decided to send her to the palace. Misa screams that she hates Rasilia to death. Rasilia doesn't allow herself to be hit again. Misa continues to say that this is her position. Rasilia doesn't like that Misa gets everything, but she tries and gets nothing. Rasilia explains to her that she will become a laughingstock there. The Countess came into the room upon hearing the screams. Misa immediately ran to her to complain. She doesn't want the Countess to let this go. The Countess said that they would talk about it in the room. Rasilia can't even believe that the Countess has taken her side. The next day, we moved to the Miliora Palace. Grian told Lockhart that Rasilia had become Miliora's lady-in-waiting. The Count sent away his illegitimate daughter, saying that he had done what was asked. Many will think that the third lion has turned away from Aurel. Grian didn't think the Count would be so daring. Lockhart wanted Rasilia to stay in the pharmacy because it would be easier to kidnap her. Miliora will not be able to realize how valuable Rasilia is. Miliora asks to bring the one who decided that this is a good idea. She can't calm down knowing that she's been given an illegitimate child. Rasilia couldn't even imagine that Miliora had such a nasty character. The butler asks you to follow him and not ask unnecessary questions. Rasilia is introduced to the head maid, Amelia. She asks Rasilia if she is officially registered in the Rovard family. Amelia cannot know all the data because it is not her responsibility. Their job is to do what they are told. But they don't even believe that Rasilia is from the Rovard family. She can't believe how little trust there is in Count Roward. Amelia finally agreed to bring the test. If you think about it, Lockhart is also somewhere in this castle. I wonder if he'll be angry when he finds out Rasilia is here. But Rasilia simply decided to stay away from him. Amelia soon gave Lockhart the results of Rasilia's test. Amelia simply conveyed to him what Miliora had said. Lockhart literally jumped up when he noticed the perfect result. Amelia is sure there are mistakes, but no. Ask anyone and they will say the same thing. If they want to get rid of her, They can say it's because of her handwriting. The name Lockhart saw on the sheet was written in an unforgettable handwriting. This is how he realized that it was Recelia who had scored the highest score. Lockhart is baffled as to why she disappeared immediately after passing her exam. Lockhart himself made the questions on the test more difficult, hoping that Recelia would fail it. Now, he thinks he should have brought her here earlier. The next day, Recelia asked if there were test results. Amelia decides to test Resilia's knowledge of etiquette. During these 3 hours, Recelia almost went crazy. She would prefer to study at the academy. She suddenly noticed a knight sitting on a bench. Recelia introduces herself to him. He says he's already heard about her. His name is Lond, and he asks Recelia to stop trying to suck up to him. He is responsible for the safety of Meliora. He's here in broad daylight because Meliora is having tea. She ordered to stay away because his presence would frighten everyone. Lond says that Meliora will never accept Recelia, so it is better for her to leave. But Recelia says that she has already managed to meet Amelia. He talks about Amelia, saying that when she fell down the stairs, she didn't even get hurt. Lond thinks that Count Roward is a very strict parent. Recelia cannot say that the Countess beat her throughout her childhood. Lockhart joined them, surprised by the unexpected meeting. Recelia is still undergoing training. When possible, Lockhart asks that his best wishes be conveyed to the Count. He teases her that since she loves writing letters so much, now they will see each other more often. Lockhart asked Londa how his injury was. He broke several ribs, and a moon fell on him. Surely other parts of his body were also damaged. But even so, Lond wanted to continue serving. When Recelia met Raymond, he thought she had come to visit Lockhart. Recelia reveals that she is an illegitimate child, which is why she has a double surname. The director asked how he should address her then. Obviously, Roymond was shocked to learn that she was Rovard. Recelia came to announce that from now on, she will live in the palace. Roymonda is not surprised that she was appointed as Grayan's personal assistant. But Recelia corrected him, because she is Meliora's assistant. Still, Roymond says that serving the imperial family is a great honor. The second prince needs many assistants. Upon learning that Recelia was a bastard, Grayan sent her back. Recelia clearly saw how his gaze faded then. Roman shares that he is currently boiling Espidistra leaves. Recelia decides to help him make a cure for the rash. She quickly realized that Londu could make a cure. The next day they met again. Meliora has arranged a tea party again, so Lond is resting. Recelia invites him to host his own tea party. Lond asked if Recelia had introduced herself to Her Highness. Amelia is still looking for a way to get rid of Recelia. Recelia says that Prince Aurel recommended her. This means that it won't be so easy to leave the palace in the near future. Later, Recelia was informed that Her Highness was calling her. She leaves Londu with the medicine, telling him how to use it. The maid who sees Recelia off introduces herself as Aria. She warned that Recelia was forbidden to speak until Her Highness had first looked at her. My first impression of Meliora was that she was beautiful. Meliora called Recelia, but doesn't even look in her direction. Maybe this is her attempt to discourage Recelia, but she's not going to budge. The father of one of the guests brought tea leaves from abroad. At that moment, the macaroon fell out of her hands. Now, Recelia is wondering what this girl will do. But Meliora asked Iria to pick up the macaroon. Recelia decided to do it herself and greet Migliora. Everyone started whispering that she had approached her without permission. It is disgusting to them that those born out of wedlock have no conscience at all. They cannot imagine how Her Highness will be disgraced. Recelia confirms that she is a servant who came to the palace by recommendation. She is unhappy with the way they talk about her in front of the lady. Insulting a maid is the same as insulting a mistress. They made her look bad. Just as Lady Carol was about to flare up, she was interrupted by Meliora. She asked everyone to get out of here. They themselves lost by calling Recelia a servant. Meliora asked her what she was doing. Recelia successfully passed 2 exams with Amelia. Recelia decides to leave and asks Migliora to call her when needed. Meliora came to Aurel to complain about Recelia. She wants Recelia to disappear. She can't believe that the third lion dared to send someone like her here. Meliora asked Aurel why he hated her so much. He says that she is insulting him now. Recelia may be a bastard, but she is the daughter of a count, and she passed the exams. Even his servant Renee could hardly cope with this. We need people around us who are smarter than those who only make tea and cookies. The third lion is more useful to His Majesty. Meliora still believes that Recelia is only disgracing her father. It's as if she has trouble admitting that Recelia is too good for her. Meliora was so offended that she broke the vase out of anger. She asked why her protector couldn't be like the Knights of Aurel. Sir Lond followed Migliora. She asked him if he was interested in why she was angry. But he's not sure she'll stop being angry if he asks. Meliora told him that she didn't need him. He wouldn't understand her anyway. She screams that she is surrounded by idiots. Realizing her words, she apologized, and Lond decided to escort her to the palace. Meliora will be in her chambers, and she asks that no one be allowed in. Aria came into Recelia's room. She was surprised when Arya addressed her as Miss. It turns out that her performance had some effect. Arya tells that Meliora has returned from Oral's palace. It looks like Resilia will soon be trading goods again. Or maybe she will be sent to prison for insulting the princess. Resilia is a complete stranger here. She is so spoiled by nature that even her father could not re-educate her. She thinks it's not his fault anyway. Resilia suddenly heard sounds coming from the window. It turned out to be Lockhart, who had entered the room. Resilia didn't expect to see the son of the first lion breaking into the women's quarters. But Lockhart came because he was worried about her. She created the problems, and he has to clean it up. If the guards burst in right now, Resilia could be punished. She wants to talk later and asks him to leave. But Lockhart will only leave if she answers his question. He asked what Resilia was thinking when she ruined Meliora's tea party. He asks this purely out of curiosity. He guesses that this could cause trouble for the Count. Resilia asks him to leave before the soldiers burst in and arrest her. She doesn't think it's normal that he's in the princess's palace. He shouldn't be stupid enough to take the risk. Lockhart only wanted to make her admit that she was the author of that beautiful letter. The first prince cannot allow anyone to think that he was wrong. He would rather blame Melora for not being able to cope with him. Resilia asked if they would finally leave her alone. Her very presence confirms this. She feels sorry for Migliora, because all she can do is break things in the room. Resilia says she didn't write that letter. But Lockhart asked if she would tell him why she had ruined the tea party. If Resilia goes beyond the bounds of decency, everyone will start talking about her shortcomings. She doesn't even understand why she's telling Lockhart all this. But the climb all the way to the third floor was worth it. But he decides to talk about the purpose of Lockhart's visit later. Every day, Resilia came to Meliora's room, but she refused to come out. Lond asked what was in the tea that Resilia brought. He believes that medicine and poison are the same thing. He says that there are pessimistic knights, but they die early. A pessimist with a sense of humor also goes beyond the norm. The medicine worked, and Londa's back pain almost went away. Meliora will never leave the room until she gets what she wants. Nothing will change until Resilia is fired. In war, this is called a stalemate. To break the impasse, one side must resume hostilities. As soon as Resilia came to the tea party, she did not see Meliora there. Misa was sitting here instead of her. Resilia didn't think that Meliora would drag Misa into this. One of them says she can't imagine how Misa lived in a house with a bastard. Therefore, she supposedly definitely deserves such compensation. All their thoughts are focused on Lockhart and his beauty. Misa says she doesn't have time for fun. Resilia remembered the Countess's words in the etiquette lesson and felt sick. If Misa had entered the academy earlier, she would have become Meliora's maid of honor. Misa would like to graduate as soon as possible so that everything can fall into place. Someone suggested that this puts a lot of pressure on Misa, but she asked what exactly was putting pressure on her. It's all because of Resilia's illegitimate child. Misa said that Prince Aurel should have sent someone else. Graduates of the academy are selected to serve the imperial family. Misa asked if it was her fault that young lords were attracted to her beauty. They remembered Lady Colin that Misa had served her. Resilia tries to quietly call Misa. The bastard scolds the legitimate child. An angry Meliora came here. Misa wants Resilia to just die, as she put it. After everyone left, Resilia tried the macarons and liked them. Misa's words sent shivers down her spine. She wondered if Lockhart knew what had happened to Misa at the academy. Resilia came to Roymond to ask him to call Lockhart. If she goes to Graham's palace herself, rumors might arise. For Roymond, this is not a problem. He is always in touch with the palace. As a token of gratitude, Resilia gives him a macaron. She says she will wait in the garden. Lockhart is flattered that Resilia sought out a meeting with him, but she's sure he'll feel the opposite once he knows what she wants to talk about. First, Resilia asks him to eat a macaron. It turned out to be sweeter than any declaration of love. Lockhart already knows that Misa is moving to the imperial palace. Resilia is glad that he already knows everything, and now she asked if something had happened to Misa at the academy. But Lockhart can't answer that question. Resilia is outraged that one macaron was missing. Lockhart is touched that she was thinking of him when she took the macarons. He thought Resilia was in trouble because of Misa. He guesses that it is because Resilia is worried about her. Resilia is going to leave if he doesn't tell her about Misa. But if she admits she's worried, Lockhart will tell. Because of the Countess, Resilia lost her mother and did not enter the academy. Worrying about any of them would be tantamount to betraying my mother. Lockhart sometimes walks in the garden to see the beautiful sky. If Resilia wants to see him again, let her come at the same time. He said he wouldn't think she was stalking him. Resilia wants to leave, but Lockhart still has something to say. Resilia felt like his attitude towards her had changed. But in any case, he doesn't want to be enemies. He asks her to forget about the past, but Resilia is wondering about what exactly. Maybe this is about their first meeting, or maybe about the illness of the second prince. Lockhart even secretly brought her a carriage from the stables. Resilia promises him that she will forget everything. She hopes that from now on, he stops mentioning that letter. But Lockhart believes the letter has nothing to do with it. He offers to make a deal. Lockhart recalls the list of visitors to the Imperial Palace. In the end, Resilia resigned herself to it, and now she doesn't care. Lockhart says that Misa is surviving on her own, and Resilia can't help her. Later, he thinks he should have teased her a little more. Lockhart learned that Resilia had spent most of her life under the Countess's wrath. The more Lockhart learns about her, the less he understands her. Lockhart asks to bring him some macarons. It didn't taste as sweet as the one Resilia gave. His expectations were completely different. Lockhart predicts that Resilia will face even more abuse in the future. Colin learned that Misa had tried to hide from her that she had attended Meliora's tea party. But Misa doesn't understand why Colin is angry. Meliora invited her to tea, and she couldn't take Colin with her. But Colin said that without her help, she didn't even know how or what to study. Misa grew up in a family where her father regularly visited the Imperial Palace. Colin was lucky she wasn't there today. One of the ladies said that Colin's party was so boring that Misa had to entertain everyone. Meliora had not yet arrived at that time. Misa is partly responsible for what was said at the tea party. Resilia was surprised when she was told that Meliora wanted to see her. She asked Resilia to help her choose a ring, since she was her servant. Resilia admitted that she doesn't know much about jewelry. She began to say that she understood perfectly well that Meliora had not asked her this. Meliora doesn't need knowledge of mathematics or history, but Resilia still asks her to give her a chance. She says that she is the only one who can become Meliora's ally. Perhaps, if she had allowed herself to be hit, Meliora would have softened at least a little. Meliora asked how she dared to insult her. Resilia asks to think about how to use it, not how to get rid of it. But Meliora doesn't want to listen to her anymore. She asks her to get out. The next day, Resilia tells Londu how she talked with Meliora. She asks Londa not to look at her with sympathy. Suddenly, Aria said that the headmaid was waiting for Resilia. Resilia was grabbed and forced to kneel. Amelia asks her to hold out her hands. Resilia asks to explain why she is being beaten with a whip. The maid asks her to admit her mistakes. But Resilia asks to beat her as much as she wants, because she hasn't done anything. Amelia met with her tomorrow, and she asks her to think about her behavior. Resilia thought that they would at least call a doctor for her. But no. Aria shares that Resilia is accused of stealing Meliora's ring. The emerald ring disappeared after Resilia touched the box. Resilia already thought that the reason would be more serious. She is sure that Meliora threw this box on purpose. She said she needed to talk to her. When Resilia came to her, she said that she had not stolen anything. But Meliora replied that she already knew that. Resilia asks her to look at the wounds she received. Meliora is horrified and asks her to cover it up. But Resilia only wanted to show the results of her actions. The most terrible thing is the plan behind all this. Resilia didn't do anything, but tomorrow she'll be beaten again. Meliora thinks she is power-hungry because she is illegitimate. But Resilia says that such children are not interested in this. At this point, Resilia thinks her journey is coming to an end. The next day, as she said, she was interrogated again. But Resilia has absolutely nothing to confess. Amelia calls her a shameless brat. Suddenly, Her Majesty entered the room. Amelia was simply following Meliora's orders. Resilia screams that she didn't steal anything. The Empress asks Amelia to control herself. She also made a remark to Migliore that she had done this to the daughter of the third lion. She can't believe she could have done such a thing. It seems that this is how she paid for Aurel's work. It feels like Meliora was born to torment her mother. She said that it would have been better if she had never given birth to her. Meliora continues to make excuses, but her mother asks her to shut up. Amelia said that this room was too shabby, but it was only her fault. Aurel himself chose Resilia as a servant for Meliora. The Empress doesn't like so much noise from one girl. She asks Amelia not to show her face for a while. Resilia spent most of her life hating herself because she was born out of wedlock. But when she lived with her mother, she was happy. Even the Countess cares for Misa simply because she is her daughter. The maid takes care of Resilia while she recovers. Meliora is crying in her room. She will only be released in a few days. Resilia would have cried too if her mother had told her that. Everything is not going as Resilia wanted again. Lockhart made his way to her again. Resilia was scared, but he, on the contrary, was fearless. She doesn't feel like discussing anything today. Lockhart noticed how badly she was hurt. He decides to cover Resilia with a blanket. Lockhart had already heard that Resilia had stolen the ring, but she rudely expressed that they were all lying. Lockhart asks her to leave the palace and focus on her health. She herself understands that she chose the wrong patron. Resilia asked if he knew when the whole world looked down on you. If you only get hurt, all that's left are scars. It seems that Resilia has decided to side with Meliora because she has no choice. Lockhart believes she has no reason to put up with such treatment, but Resilia could decide for herself how to treat her. And these words shocked Lockhart. Now that the Empress has intervened, Resilia can't just leave. Since Lockhart was here, he could do Resilia a favor. She asks him to take the medicine prepared by Roymond to Londu, but Lockhart simply asked her to ask someone else. Lond was injured in the battle while trying to save Lockhart. He said that only his ashes would leave Tunbar, and Lockhart sent him to the rear. For the House of Aemo, 7 Southerners who have served in the military for generations, this is simply a disgrace. Lond stays here because he is ashamed to return home. If Lockhart brings him medicine, it will be considered an insult. She no longer knows what rumors will spread if she brings the medicine to Londu. Lockhart said that Lond would get the medicine anyway. A few days later, Meliora noted that Resilia looked good, but Resilia still feels pain when the fabric touches her skin. She asks again to accept her, but because of her insolence, Meliora does not need her. Resilia was sent here as if to humiliate Meliora. Meliora speaks just like her mother. They will take Resilia with them to the appointment ceremony before the competition. It's not that Resilia wanted this, but it has to be this way. A few days later, they came to the Hall of Palace Affairs. They are asked to go in the order they are called. Resilia can't believe she's seeing the most powerful man in the Empire in person. His Highness needs to prepare medals for those accompanying him. But Meliora didn't even prepare a medal for Resilia. Suddenly, Senior Lond gives her another medal, and as it turns out, it belongs to Lockhart. It seems that Lockhart is going to appear before the Emperor without a medal. The Emperor asks Grayan and Lockhart to come to him. He asks Lockhart why he doesn't have a medal. However, only medals awarded by the Emperor are permitted to be worn with ceremonial attire. The Emperor asks God to protect them, as he did during the war. Now the Emperor asks Meliora and Resilios to come. The butler announces the start of the competition for princes and princesses. They need to prepare a gift for the Emperor that he will like the most. Lockhart was simply following dress codes and removed his medal. Graina asked if he liked Resilia. When Lockhart said that was exactly it, Grian was shocked. They needed to get Resilia on their side from the very beginning. Grian can't believe Lockhart wants him to help her become Meliora's lady-in-waiting. But Lockhart is just trying to think ahead. He is sure that the prince regrets not making Resilia his when he had the chance. But Grain asks him to think about what to give the Emperor. Resilia thinks that the medal means nothing at all. The guests began to discuss what gift to give. Although they were not maids of honor, Meliora must give him something special. But it is unlikely to help get to his position. The Emperor has enough material goods. They think a red diamond would be a beautiful gift. Meliora asks them to go home and think some more. If they come up with something special, she might bring a special guest. They know that Lockhart is staying at the prince's palace because he is on vacation. Meliora hasn't asked him yet, but she's sure he'll agree. She wants Resilia to persuade him to come. Miglior thought they were close because he gave Resilia the medal. Resilia clarifies that they are not close at all. She can send a request to the palace, but she will not be able to come in person. Lockhart would not have given up his medal if Meliora had awarded Resilia hers. Resilia can invite him for tea while she gives him her medal. She already said that she personally cannot do anything. In the end, Meliora gives Resilia her medal without hesitation. So now Resilia needs to return the medal to Lockhart. Resilia is harassing Migliora too much. When the current emperor was the crown prince, he and his brothers were always looking for an opportunity to destroy each other. The rivalry between them led to a huge tragedy. The nobles began to keep their distance from the emperor's children. The peace that cost so many sacrifices was destroyed by the competition. Grain and Oral will fight with everything on the line. Meliora doesn't want to take part in this. She doesn't have the support of Oral. She wants to run away, but as long as she has silver hair, she can't. Lockhart is honored that Resilia has met him. Resilia thanked him with difficulty. She returns the medal to him and thanks him again for his help. For Lockhart, it is a nobleman's duty. And if that's all, then he's forced to leave. Resilia said that Meliora was inviting him to tea. In the midst of the competition, Lockhart doesn't think this is appropriate. But he might change his mind if Resilia admits that she wrote that letter. Deeply embarrassed, Resilia left, saying that she didn't understand what they were talking about. She thanks him again and wishes him all the best. She doesn't understand why he cares so much about this letter. If Resilia hadn't helped Misa then, this wouldn't have happened. The Countess and Misa sleep peacefully, although they are always causing mischief to everyone. But the medal given to her will help her secure her future. So you need to stay calm and think about how to maintain it. Lady Carol did not come to tea. Others said there had been some minor problems with her father's affairs. This means they will have to come up with something for the competition themselves. They started discussing it, and these were the worst ideas Resilia had ever heard. Resilia doesn't understand why Melora doesn't have such patience with her. Melora is asked if Lockhart will join them. Meliora asks Resilia this. She can't say he refused, but he didn't agree either. Suddenly, they announced that Lockhart had arrived. Lockhart greets Princess Migliora. He immediately apologizes for being late. Resilia is already scared of what he has planned. He probably held a grudge because of that letter. But he still came to the tea party. He was asked if it was true that he had saved Prince Grayan's life. He just happened to be in the right place at the right time. Lockhart will be the first young man to receive the Emperor's award. It's a pity he's not part of the princess's retinue, but Lockhart is glad that they can all get together like this now. Having heard all this, Roselia goes out into the corridor. Today's newspaper reports that Meliora became the victim of a ring theft crime. Somehow this information actually leaked into the newspapers. Amelia said that Meliora should finish her tea and go to the Emperor's palace. Roselia already knows the reason for this. Meliora is indignant. Why on earth does she have to go there? She is going to arrest the journalist who wrote this. Soon, Meliora returns from there all in tears. Roselia had no choice but to follow her. Meliora managed to calm down when it was already dark. She thinks that Roselia thinks she's pathetic. The Empress told Migliora that she was throwing dirt on the brothers' path. She asked how Meliora was going to restore the honor of the imperial family, which she always ruined. Roselia was going to leave as quietly as possible, but she can't look at Migliora and do nothing. Meliora says she can't do anything. She already regrets that she was born at all. It's unlikely that Roselia will be able to help her with this. But the competition is a great opportunity to put things right. This is a chance to show the Empress what kind of person Meliora is. But Meliora asked what she knew about the Togger family. If she stands out even a little, the brothers will kill her. But she, Meliora, has no shortage of ambition. She asks Roselia not to do anything stupid that might lead to her being misunderstood. And Roselia doesn't plan to, because she feels calmer that way. Meliora can show everyone that she is not worthless. Roselia asks her to trust her. But Meliora is indignant. Why would she do this? Roselia assures that she will work for her benefit. In the end, Meliora allowed her to do what she wanted. Roselia will need that jewelry box. Auril asks that Her Majesty not worry. She doesn't want to lose her composure because of Meliora either. Auril said that it was he who wrote that article. When the third lion sent his daughter here, he declared that he had given her an education, no less than an academic one. So he became interested in seeing how she would handle this situation. But Auril should think about the reputation of the Imperial Palace. A few days later, the Riley auction began. A box containing 20 rings from Princess Meliora will be on display. The first lot is an emerald ring. Lockhart buys the ring by winning the auction. Roselia received money from the sale of the rings. With this amount, you can open several pharmacies. Suddenly, she ran into Lockhart. He knew she had persuaded Meliora to hold the auction, but he asks Roselia not to overdo it. He is simply worried about her and asks her not to mention her illegitimate birth in every conversation. But she doesn't understand why a competitor in a competition shouldn't try. If Roselia is worried about Migliora, she should be more careful. She only managed to survive by proving that it was useless to attack her. That's why Lockhart asks her not to drag it through the mud. Since Roselia will be looked down upon, she will give it her all. Lockhart told her that she always tried harder than a racehorse, and he also finds it funny to watch her. On the street, Roselia met Surlern. First, they need to visit about 20 shelters. Lockhart bought the ring because it was beautiful and he liked it. The auction of the most expensive item begins. After this, people will think about other objects that they are nothing compared to this. If they don't get a red tier today, then it was all for nothing. It is not clear what is so special about this stone. They charge an exorbitant price for a stone that just happens to be red. While the man who shines is treated worse than a cobblestone, although Mr. Lockhart despises both. Riley's auction guarantees the authenticity of the stone. We'll have to find out if they're doing business with pirates. It's a pity that soon all this will become useless. The starting price for the stone will be 5 million gold. Number 29 offers 7 million. Grayan is offering 8.5 million. Colin offered 10 million. It seems like Grayan just decided to give up. The first lot of the auction was sold to Colin. Now Grayan will have no gift for the Emperor. If you don't have money, you'll have to use charm. Colin hopes Lockhart isn't too upset, but he said he was very upset. Colin asked who the gentleman behind him was. Lockhart introduced the prince, asking for formalities to be observed. Grayan says he was going to buy a red tier. Colleen wanted to do something that people would associate with her family for many years to come. This would strengthen their reputation. Colin offers to put forward his own condition, since Green wants a deal. She asked if she could be his servant. He cannot take new servants in the middle of the test. Grian wanted to pay her for the red tier, but Colleen refused. After that, she left, leaving Grayan in thought. He apologizes to Lockhart for being so harsh, but Lockhart is indignant that Grian refused. The prince did not answer, only saying that they were going to the chief of the Amit tribe. The new owner of the red tier, Viscountess Encart, has arrived at the Encart estate. The guests were delighted with this shiny stone. They all heard that the red tier was sold at the highest price. The fact that they can show the stone to everyone today justifies its value. But just a few days ago, Colin's parents were angry. It's a pity that the plan to become the prince's servant failed. Colin uses this stone for the benefit of the family. 2 hours later, the Viscountess was already drunk and intoxicated. She is outraged that the Viscount does not allow her to have fun at least one night. A knight was sent after her, but she drives him away. She grumbles that she is surrounded by idiots. While the Viscountess was taking off her necklace, she accidentally broke a vase. She said that the wind knocked the vase off the table. Grian quickly pulled out the necklace, while the Viscountess was distracted by a fallen vase. They remembered the house of the chief Amet on the edge of the cliff. Lockhart can thank Green for revealing his talent for thievery. The prince is glad that he did not buy the damaged stone. He will try to return it in perfect condition. It will be to their advantage if news of the theft spreads. Lockhart asks what is required of him today. The prince asks to go to the director and find out if everything is ready. Meliora hasn't taken her eyes off the article for several minutes, but the tone of the article is not that bad. Meliora didn't expect them to praise her. Roselia didn't expect that this was the first praise in her life. In the shelters, they also praised her, saying that Meliora was the best. Roselia couldn't have done it without Sir Londa, so she suggests that Meliora reward him. There is no more work for Roselia, so she can go. In Londa's condition, traveling by carriage was unthinkable. Meliora asked him why he was late. She gives him a newspaper to read where they write about her. Meliora also added that Roselia praised him. He thinks it's an encouragement, which is strange. Roselia hasn't had a break for a long time. She decided to go to Raymond and pick up some medicine for Londa. Once inside, she noticed that Raymond had fallen asleep, so she decides to leave the macarons and not wake him up. Suddenly, Roselia noticed a barrel and tools for making flaming arrows nearby. It looks like they are making some kind of weapon. At that moment, someone grabbed her and covered her mouth. Roselia didn't expect that she would die like this. It was Lockhart, asking her to be quiet. He tells you to follow him and not make a squeak. Roselia had never seen Lockhart so angry, as if it has something to do with the weapons they are preparing. What is clear is that Roselia accidentally discovered a dangerous secret. First, she asks Lockhart to step back a little. She answered honestly that she just wanted to take some macarons to the director. Lockhart asked if it was okay for her to enter someone else's house without permission. Roselia promises to apologize properly to the director, but she swears she didn't see anything. She shows him that she even has her eyes closed. Lockhart lets her go and asks her to forget everything she saw. This is very important, and he hopes that Roselia will cope. Still, she wonders why Roymond needed a weapon. Aurel asked his mother what she was reading. He said that Viscount René had picked out a gift for the Emperor. Aleri can really trust him. Roselia noticed how Lond glowed after reading the article about Meliora. For this, Meliora even gave him a bonus. But Roselia realized that the imperial family was not very generous. Lond noticed that Roselia really liked Meliora, and he also ran out of medicine. Roselia is afraid to return because she might run into Lockhart again. However, she asks Londa not to worry. She is going to knock loud enough for Roymond to hear. She knocks on the door, asking to speak to the director. He opened the door, saying that she would break it down so soon. He already knew that she came for medicine. Roymond asks to leave him because he needs to sleep. Roselia shouldn't have to think about what he's doing if he's so tired. Today is her day off, but she works more than on weekdays. Now she accidentally runs into Grayan. Roselia immediately apologizes for her indiscretion. She wondered where he was going with so many knights. Suddenly, Roselia notices Grayan taking out his sword. There isn't a day when anything goes normally for Roselia. Lockhart suddenly appears and defends her. He says that Roselia will not utter a word about what she saw. He asked Grayan if he really intended to kill his savior. Lockhart revealed that it was Roselia who found a cure for the infection. They know she's smart enough not to talk trash. Grian doesn't know Roselia, but Lockhart said he does. He asks Lockhart to swear his life to her silence. Lockhart takes responsibility for everything that concerns her. Lockhart trusts her and is willing to bet his life on it. Grayan is upset, but they don't have time to think about it. Gran agreed that Roselia was now Lockhart's responsibility, but he said that in that case, she was going with them. Either Roselia will die here, or she will go with them. Roselia asks Lockhart to agree. Still, she wonders where Grayan will go with that suspicious bag. She doesn't even know if she'll get out alive after this. Lockhart brings Roselia a drink. He asks her to tell him if she suddenly gets hungry. Roselia asks to explain where they are. Lockhart laughed when she called him a pirate. He says they are in international waters. It turns out that they got out into the ocean. She wouldn't be responsible for herself if Lockhart mentioned the letter again. Lockhart won't let anything happen to her. She asks what he knows about her. But that was the first thing that came to mind when he said it to Grian. Roselia feels like they're not that close. Lockhart doesn't intend to answer. She has wounded his fragile heart. In the end, Roselia asks for forgiveness. Roselia was surprised when he answered that it was a hobby. No one except her mother had ever done anything like this to her. She hopes they haven't dragged her into treason. But anything done in international waters without the consent of the Emperor is considered imperial treason. Lockhart promises that everything is under control, and there is no need to worry. Roselia still asks to explain what is happening, But Lockhart said it was more interesting when you didn't know anything. Grayan is ready with the other ships. One of these ships is a decoy. Lockhart asks Resilia not to be a bore and to have some fun. Fighting pirates is not such an easy task. The soldiers are suffering from seasickness. They are unlikely to be sailors. Lockhart was at the auction. He could have stolen the diamond. Resilia came to the conclusion that they were going to bargain with the pirates. The remaining ships came into view. Resilia is worried about whether they really have everything under control. Lockhart asks to raise the sails and prepare hot arrows. The large ship was instantly engulfed in flames. Lockhart protects Resilia from an axe flying at them. Lockhart commands them to surround them on the right. Lockhart told Grayan that she was rooting for his ships. Grayan asks her not to say a word about what she saw. If she does something stupid under the guise of helping Meliore, Lockhart is finished. Resilia is going to help Meliora achieve recognition for her own achievements. Grayan guessed that she liked the Hotel Jabron. Resilia is in his debt. One day he will demand it. Now they are taking their places to return. Captured pirates face only execution. The red tier was used as bait for pirates. The pirates did not trust each other. Lockhart and Grayan knew this, so they prepared flaming arrows. With the disappearance of pirates, the need for military escort of merchant ships carrying iron ore disappears. They instantly exterminated the pirates, who had been terrorizing neighboring countries for decades. Resilia sends Lockhart her congratulations. They have every chance of winning the first round of the competition. Lockhart puts his arm around her shoulder, showing her the beautiful sunset. Because of all this, Resilia missed a day of work. Meliora will definitely kill her. Lockhart jokes that the imperial family absolutely loves killing their servants. He came to the tea party after she refused, thinking that this would make Resilia even more uncomfortable. He seems to really enjoy teasing people. Resilia began to think about what she could say in her defense. Lockhart had an idea and decided to share it. Meliora asks Resilia where she has been. She replied that she had gone to the shelter, but the children did not want to let her go. She had to say that the messenger she paid had run away. Resilia apologizes, because she is still just learning to be a maid of honor. Meliora is going to send someone to the shelter to check her story. She warns that this should not happen again. The newspaper spread the news of Meliora's generosity throughout the empire. At last the day came for presenting gifts to the emperor. Errol presented the herb of immortality. This herb is not easy to obtain, but Aurel got to it. The emperor says he is proud of Aurel. Now he asks Grayan and Lockhart to come out. The destruction of pirates seems like the best gift, but not from the point of view of the laws. The prince's gift is an invitation to the Jebron Hotel. It seems the emperor will also like this gift. Melora and Resilia gave a bunch of strange envelopes. It turned out that all this was congratulations. Resilia said that Meliora sold the jewelry at auction and donated the money to shelters. And these letters of congratulations were written by orphans. Suddenly, the emperor laughed out loud. He had never received so many congratulations before. Understanding that he liked it, Resilia breathed a sigh of relief. The emperor doesn't even know which of these gifts is better, but he considers Meliora's gift to be the most appropriate gift for his day. The results of the first task are known. The rules of the next competition will be announced. Meliora was pleased with the emperor's reaction. She wants to share this joy with all her friends. Resilia guesses that they are not the real winners, because at that moment, the emperor was looking at Grayan. Since Meliora is so happy, it doesn't matter who the winner is. The empress is dissatisfied with Resilia's actions. She says that Resilia doesn't understand anything, and the problem is in Meliore. But Aurel says that this is not so. Aurel realized that the winner of the first task was Grayan. Previously, there was an order to consider options for constructing a military base on the territory of the Jebron Hotel. But now there is no need for it, because there are no more pirates. Lockhart must have come up with a tactic to get rid of the pirates, but he did not have the authority to conduct a military operation. But the emperor himself said that he appreciated every gift. I wonder why the emperor doesn't want Aurel to ascend the throne. Meliora gathered with her friends to celebrate her victory. Her friends believe that she should become the crown princess next. Resilia allows them to celebrate their victory and leaves. The morning after drinking, Meliora had a headache. Her friends drank more. They probably can't stand up now. Resilia brought them drinks until they passed out. If Aurel finds out that Meliora wants to become the crown princess, he will get rid of her. Meliora asks her to give her some ideas for the second task. Resilia promises that she will rack her brains. She knows that getting the herb of immortality is easy when you have money and connections. Resilia wants Meliora to do something too. Migliore will have to behave as modestly as possible in order not to lose to his brothers. And we need to make sure that the ladies at the tea party don't spill the beans either. Meliora asks Resilia to be careful too. Then Resilia went to the palace library. She remembered that she had already walked along this road. She thinks she can go in there since she is the princess's maid of honor. When she approached the library, she introduced herself. But she was told that only members of the imperial family could use the Bibliotheketu. But Lockhart did come here somehow. As a result, Resilia went to the Imperial Palace Library. Resilia is interested in whether the Empire will use all the ore for its own needs, or will sell some to other countries. Meliora's answer should not be so good as to provoke the princes. As she was taking the book, someone intercepted her hand. Of course, it turned out to be Lockhart. She says she took the book first. Lockhart needs it to prepare for a new course. By stepping on his foot, Resilia was able to take the book. But she immediately wondered why she had to do this because of some book. Lockhart offers to trade when she's finished, and this is the man who commanded the ship with menacing authority. Resilia wonders which of these sides is pretense. She wrote Lockhart a note apologizing for stepping on his foot, but he replied that he would accept the apology only if she told the truth about the letter. As the night approached, Resilia finally fell asleep, and when she woke up, she met Lockhart's gaze. He treats the girl to tea with a pleasant smell. Prince Grayan sent him to make Lockhart try harder. He says that many good and wonderful things happen when Resilia's around. He asked her what she thought about iron ore in the end. Resilia can't say while the competition is in full swing. She's unlikely to outdo Lockhart in practical matters. This is a competition to identify the abilities of the Emperor's children. Courtiers should only give advice. Lockhart hopes Meliora realizes how lucky she is to have Resilia. They finally finish for today because it's already very late. Resilia wondered what Lockhart meant. Since Lockhart is having dinner with his father, he is forced to take his leave first. Before leaving, he wishes Resilia good evening. The Imperial Court will have to think about how to use iron. Any choice in favor of one will enrage the other. Resilia was unexpectedly informed that Grayan wanted to have dinner with her. Resilia hopes he won't kill, but she understands that she needs to be prepared for anything. Since Meliora invited Lockhart to tea, Grayan decided to invite Resilia to dinner. The food is really good, so she shouldn't be shy. Grayan asks what she was thinking, frowning. She wonders why Grayan is sure she didn't take the ring. There are no secrets in the Imperial Palace, but she risks her life to keep his secret. She would be grateful if he thought that this was how it would be. He asks if Resilia knows why he is not interested in her. It's only because she's of no use to him. Since she has no patron, her help to Meliore looks more like charity. But Resilia endures cruelty for her own sake, and not out of any sense of duty to the princess. The problem is that she does everything she can. Resilia puts Migliora in danger by giving her great hope. Grayan suddenly asked if Meliora really wanted to become the crown princess. The best option for her would be to do nothing at all. The princes take the way the Empress treats Meliora for granted. Even if Resilia leaves the palace, Meliora's life will not change. She says that such a topic can only come up at a tea party when you are drunk. As the princess's maid of honor, Resilia has only one goal. She needs to help Her Highness accept and love herself. In her place, Grayan would be very careful. In this matter, Resilia personally does not need anything, but it won't give her anything if Meliora loves herself. She will get satisfaction from having been useful. No one else can give her this. Lockhart had to return because the prince summoned him. He realized that Grayan was having dinner with someone. Grayan says that yes, for some people he really is a good person. He admitted that he had dinner with Resilia today, but he asks Lockhart not to worry, because he didn't try to kill her. He told him what Resilia had told him at dinner. It was her style to answer, but for some reason, it offended Grayan. Maybe because he himself didn't have such a life. He has a crisis because of the words of the bastard he was laughing at. Grayan won't let that happen again. All he wants is loyalty. If he finds himself in a position deserving of pity, Lockhart must cut off his head. Lockhart is ready to do this without hesitation. The iron must be distributed among those whom Grayan wants to see as his supporters. They need to somehow accomplish this without revealing their intentions. Aurel will try to satisfy the internal needs of the Empire. Lockhart is confident that Resilia will come up with a good answer, some exemplary solution to the problem. Finally, Resilia had a rough idea of how to respond. She decides to continue tomorrow with a fresh head. But of course, she meets Lockhart along the way. Who would have thought that she would run into him in her own room? Resilia asks him to get out, because someone might see them.